Welcome to Life Heal, the future of holistic practice. So this podcast series is for holistic and complementary therapists and health coaches who are ready to evolve with the changing world of health and well-being. It is for you if you are out there trying to live your dream job and your dream purpose and are feeling that a bit disillusioned and a bit lost, and feeling that perhaps whatever you've trained in and the stuff that you're doing out there is a little bit out of date, or that you are not quite hitting the mark and it's not the idyllic life that you hoped it would be. Perhaps you feel that you're not reaching people, you don't know how to reach people. Perhaps you've got your own treatment room and you're sitting there day after day and there's no clients coming in. This podcast is for you if that is the case. So I'm Sam, integrative health coach, therapist and co-founder of Life Heal, and this series explores how integrative health, lifestyle medicine, social prescribing, digital health and multi-modality therapies are redefining what it means for holistic care and complementary therapies. Each episode is going to blend grounded insight, real-world strategies which can help you align with your own purpose and really find your position in modern healthcare and how you fit with this new healthcare that's coming in. And we're looking forward to spending time with you. If you're ready to dive in and explore the future of holistic practice, then hopefully we can keep you inspired, informed and aligned as the landscape of health continues to evolve. So welcome to episode 16, and we've got a very special episode today. I've got our very first special guest, and welcome Annie. Your name is spelled Öztas, but you're telling me I've said that wrong. Do you want to share with everybody how to say your second name?
Oh, thank you for having me here. Yes, it's Annie Öztas.
Öztas. And we will share at the end how you can keep in contact if you want to, and how to spell that. So don't worry. We'll also put links below as well. So today, as I say, this is episode 16, and we put out a sort of Facebook call out, if you like, for people that would be interested in joining the podcast. And we've had lots of replies, and Annie was the first one. And I've had a long chat with Annie a couple of weeks ago, and a fascinating story and lots of synchronicities. And I'm really excited to have you on and for you to share your insight and your journey, which you've said you're very kindly prepared to do, and with the hope that it will inspire therapists that are maybe new, therapists that are maybe feeling a bit stuck, and also the therapists that are really excited to be part of this new paradigm of healthcare. So welcome, Annie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Oh, do you want to, shall we just start? Just tell us a bit about where you are in the country and a bit about what you do.
Okay, so I'm based down in Exeter in Devon, and I do a little bit of everything really. I initially trained in massage and loved it, but it didn't really tick all my boxes, if I'm honest. So I then went off on a bit of a journey for myself, and bolted on and bolted on and bolted on, and healing modalities are my passion. They really are. And I now blend some of the healing modalities together.
Yeah.
With Reiki, I don't tend to, but the other modalities I do tend to blend to make it a more bespoke session for the recipient.
I love that. And so I've just literally, I don't know if it's not gone live yet, but the previous episode, or the second, I think it was episode 14, speaks about the way that we all of a sudden you train exactly what you've done. You train in massage and you think, well, hang on a minute, there's something else here. Oh, wait a minute, there's something else here. And before you know it, you seem to stumble on this mixed modality integrative approach. Is that how it was for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, I started off 26 years ago in learning anatomy and physiology and massage. And, I loved it. I did love it. But to me, there was something missing. I was working with the physical, but there was, as humans, we're multifaceted, we are. And, yes, if we've got a physical ailment, massage is absolutely a brilliant modality to use. But for me, there was something lacking. And I wanted to look at the spiritual and the more holistic approach to people, and to myself. And that's where the journey sort of went, really. It was, down many a winding path, backtracking a little bit. But it was also a journey for me, and for me to heal myself.
Yeah.
And I think, the best healers are the ones with lived experience and are happy to confront their shadow side, their inner child, the different wounds that we all carry. And that's how I approach it. Is I'm on a journey too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's so important, and we speak about this a lot in other episodes as well, how the days of these sort of mirror signal maneuver treatments from the big product houses like Elemis and Spa or whatever are actually, it's not what people, it's a different thing, isn't it? It's not what healers do. And
Absolutely.
sharing your lived experience so that resonance can happen. I mean, there's just nothing. I mean, I say this to people all the time that if an empath is in what we would call full light, so you're healed, you're on your journey, or you're healing, sorry, and you're on your journey, that in itself is enough. You wouldn't even need to do a therapy, actually. You just sit in the room and share your own a story from an authentic place, and as you know, that's when the magic happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I would say that the interesting part of your story is that you've said that you started 26 years ago, but there's also another side to you, which is super interesting, I think, for all our listeners. So do you want to share a little bit about the sort of NHS side and what's happened there?
Yeah. I worked for the NHS for 34 years in a variety of roles. Primarily with learning disabled and challenging behaviour and dual diagnosis, but also with recovering addicts of substance misuse and alcohol. In the private sector, I was sort of like a foot in both camps, if you like, at one stage. And then from there, I went into the criminal justice system and worked within the prison service as part of the mental health team. Before I left, nearly 4 years ago now, I got medically retired due to having a diagnosis of MDS, which is myelodysplastic syndrome, and it's a forerunner to leukemia. It comes under the leukemia umbrella, although it's not a full leukemia at this stage. The anomaly about me is MDS isn't seen in my age group primarily.
Wow. Okay.
It's normally seen in the older population, and they have, or obviously have, a coexisting comorbid illness alongside it. So they don't know how this is going to pan out for me. At the moment, I'm 7. They gave me 8.8 medium life expectancy. and I've just hit just over the 7-year mark.
Amazing.
And how it plays out is it's with the universe. I can only follow the protocols and the medication guidelines that they give me, but also try and do my own stuff alongside it. So the allopathic and the holistic is where I'm at the moment with it all. And, you know, sometimes I'm the master of it all and sometimes I'm the slave. And it's,
Yes.
It's learning how to coexist with this.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that and being so authentic, because I know that I suppose that just explains what our last point about lived experience, that I can feel already that the people listening will be resonating, because we're all sort of, we're all on our own journeys, as you say. And in particular, this one must have been in the beginning quite frightening. And I love the way that you are, just the whole way you're approaching it. And I think that's super inspiring. What I would like to ask, if that's okay, is you're in a very unique position. Not only you shouldn't really have this diagnosis, as you're saying, it's quite an anomaly. You're also a therapist, but you've also worked in the big machine of the NHS. What do you think from a spiritual point of view? Obviously, that's very, very unusual. What do you think the path is, or what is it the universe is trying to teach you, do you think, or get you to do, or?
Very good question. I think as we are, I was in the NHS for 34 years. I started when I was 18, and it was a very different service than what we have now. And I think there is a little bit more openness towards allopathic traditional medicines that are delivered from GPs, hospitals, consultants. That's the NHS side of it. But I also think that there is a school of thought now coming in, and it's a bit of a slow start in some respects. I think some parts of the UK and in other countries are a little bit more advanced than what we are down here in Devon, maybe. But it is slowly gaining momentum, I think. And I've always said you can't split the physical and the emotional. They go hand in glove. It's all very well us having a physical ailment or a disease or illness, and we can chuck medication at it, and there's nothing wrong with that to some intents and purposes. But for me, it's what caused that to happen in the first place. What, as humans, are we not looking at, and what are we avoiding in ourselves in some respects? And I think it'd be so lovely to see them be more hand in glove, and working side by side, and not as a replacement, but treating the whole person and not just the conditions that they're presenting with.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there is a story behind all that, whether it be trauma, whether it be generational trauma that we're bringing through, whether it's the shadow side of ourselves, maybe, the inner child wounds, different wounds, abandonment wounds, worthiness wounds, could be parental. Let's look a little bit more at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Is what I say. And the younger generation of nurses and medical professionals coming through, I think, that's probably a 50-50 split at the moment, where some people who are doing their training or are new into the NHS are sort of like embracing this holistic and allopathic medicine and going, I think there is something in this. And then there's the other school of thought that, like, no, it's the allopathic way or no way sort of kind of thing. So we've got, in my opinion, we've got ground to cover. But it would be so fantastic, and so liberating for each and every one of us to be given the option and to be more autonomous in the care that we receive.
Yes, and be at the centre of it, I suppose, as you're saying.
Absolutely.
And even the fact you're saying, obviously, 34, 35 years in that system, and the fact you're saying even 50-50 is quite a leap of, and I'm sure everybody listening, even just as therapists, we all go to, part of that system. If you get a broken arm, you're going, as I always say, you're not going to get Reiki, you're going to go down to A&E, and you're going to see that whole system in operation. And these nurses and doctors, they're incredible, absolutely incredible what they do. Do you, obviously, as I say, you've seen this system and you've been part of it, and when do you feel that the change started to happen? Was there a distinct moment you thought, oh, hang on a minute, that's a different perspective?
I guess through my own journey, because obviously I'm under the hospital because of my condition, and but also I'm quite fortunate, I guess, in some respects that my consultant, I think he sort of rolls his eyeballs a little bit at me, but we do have quite nice conversations, actually. He tells me it from his perspective, from the medical model perspective.
Yep.
And then I go back to him and go, yeah, but what about this?
Nice.
From a holistic perspective. And I do think sometimes he thinks I'm a little bit woo-woo, but we've been on a journey together for the last 7 years, and I think he sort of
is used to you.
Yeah, and he's sort of like, I think we're both learning. It's for me, it's a learning journey from his perspective, from the medications that I have to take, that keep me as well as I can be. But also, I think I educate him as well, which is quite nice. And if I just plant the seed, what he does with it, whether he waters it or whether he just leaves it and doesn't water it, I've planted a seed and I've provoked a thought.
And that's that. If that's all you ever do, then that's so important. And the last episode I've just done has just been about that, about therapists who can get stuck in that ego mindset, and that your job is only to plant seeds, really, and to be on a stepping stone for whoever. It could even be a professor or a doctor. It doesn't necessarily have to be clients. It can be anybody, because we have to trust in that higher sort of power, if you like, where if you plant the seed, the universe will conspire to elicit, if you like, synchronicities. And then, if let's just take your consultant, he will then have other people saying, or other signs, because we know how this works, and all of a sudden you've opened a mind, just even slightly, and that's incredible if that's the case, because how many people is that going to help?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm quite fortunate that he does let me, as long as I keep him informed of what I'm doing and I don't go doing anything that is going to compromise me in any way, then he's happy. He goes, give it a try, see. And so I'm quite fortunate in that I have got a consultant who is open to other ways. And I guess when you have a long-term life-limiting condition, doesn't matter whether it's a leukemia-based or cancer or whatever, I guess we have to hand ourselves over to the medical profession. And in some respects, I think we have to, I always call it a bit of a false positive. We have to have these things done to us and for us to keep us well. We have to have surgery. We have to have blood tests. We have to have dressing changes and all those things that go with it. And some people can hand themselves over to those professionals and forget that they actually still have a voice.
Yes. Yeah.
And that they can, be autonomous in their care. And, if we take, for instance, say a breast cancer, for instance, then, people can go through treatment. They go into remission. They've had all their treatment, and then they're out of the system. You know, they might be watchful waiting for like 5 years or whatever. But then what happens? You know, they've exited the system, and you know, it can be quite they've handed themselves over to that care for however many months, years, or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're back in control again, and they've lost themselves in amidst all that because they've handed themselves over.
Yeah, and that must be a bit of a shock to any human being, I suppose. Anybody that's gone through that sort of, if you like, I've heard other people that have gone through it describe it as literally like walking into the circus, and you're stuck there, and then you're chucked out when it's closing time, and you're kind of sitting there going, okay, so who what do I do now? And I suppose, I don't know about from your point of view, but at that point, I suppose that is when our lot, if you like, can be the hand in the dark. And if only the big system would go, okay, well, we can't help you anymore because we've done everything. What you need to do is we're going to hand you over now. Go and get yourself some, you know, holistic care or complementary CAMs or whatever, complementary therapies. Do you think that would benefit people?
Absolutely. I mean, I also volunteer now with our local cancer charity as a complementary therapist, and you know, the patient and their primary caregiver can access holistic therapies. They get 4 free sessions.
Wow.
And you know, the feedback we get quite often is that all through their treatment journeys, all the touch has been, in their experience, a negative, but again, a false positive, if you like.
Yeah.
Because they've had to have, again, surgery, dressing changes, blood tests, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And as a therapist, we can be the first person who has touched them in a positive way in a very long time, and they become quite emotional about that. Because, you know, they've been on this journey and, you know, been lost and grieving it to some intents and purposes. And then all of a sudden someone comes along and gives them the touch that is therapeutic and nurturing. And, you know, I've sat with many a person who has cried because that touch has meant so much to them.
Yeah. And
I think, you know, the power of touch can be so underestimated.
I agree, completely agree. We did many years ago our wellness for cancer training in our salons, and we had about 20 staff on it. And the girls were very much used to, right, we're training in this, and this is what we're doing. It was therapist mode, and this blew the socks off them because everybody in the room had somebody or knew somebody that had gone or was going through the cancer journey, for instance. And part of the wellness for cancer training is mindful touch, and you literally, it's not even like Reiki, you're just literally walking around the body, almost bear walking, very gently, holding, moving. And the girls, I thought they're going to be so bored because they're used to doing 80, 90 moves in a treatment, in a facial or whatever. It was so moving and so profound. And a couple of them said, I actually can't do this treatment. But we started having clients coming in, and just as you say, like even families or partners would be, I don't want to touch this person just now because maybe they're going through chemo, or is it, you know, or radio. It's all this stuff that goes on, and I definitely agree that this is where we can step in and we can support.
Absolutely. And you know, I always say, I always call them the support acts. So the main caregiver, a family member, loved one, whoever. You know, I do return in a loving way. That they are the support act, and I think that's the hardest place to be, because as a patient, it doesn't matter what your condition is or what your ailment is. Everything is happening for you and to you, and you get into that mindset of acceptance to some intents and purposes. Right. Not maybe not fully, but it's happening for you. It's the person who's supporting you that has the toughest job, in my opinion, because are we doing too much? Are we not doing enough? Are we wanting to sort of like put a plaster over it and make it better? Are we wanting an element of control? There's a whole gambit of thoughts, feelings, and emotions behind that for the caregiver. And for me, I do think this, as I term it affectionately, the support act has the hardest job.
I love that. Yeah, I think Dolores Cannon, I don't know if you've done any of her stuff, she speaks about actors and support actors and stuff. So yeah, that's what sprung to mind when you said that. So with all that in mind, we are obviously chatting to therapists here. Mm-hmm. If anybody's interested in being supporting the support act, if you like, or supporting the people that are spat out the system, or preventative, what advice or therapies would you say, or what should they do?
I'm going to speak about my experience, but reach out to your local hospitals and primary care routes and say, this is what I offer. This is what is there a chance for me to come in and volunteer and see how that goes, and don't be afraid to sort of bolt on and, be bespoke in your treatments.
Yeah.
I know there are many schools of thought on this, and people will, probably sort of shout me down, and other people will sort of stand by me and sort of like, I agree. For me, any therapy is a way. It doesn't necessarily have to be the way. And I think we have to be multi-tooled.
Yes.
And not be afraid to try, and to trust your gut instinct, trust the process, but reach out to, like I say, in Exeter, we have hospice, we have a head injuries unit, we have the Forced Cancer Charity. There are so many organisations out there that offer support to people, and just reach out. If there's an area of interest and you think that, let's try it. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to get out of your own way and ask. If you get turned down, you haven't lost anything.
Yeah.
You haven't gained anything, but you haven't lost anything, but you've tried.
Exactly.
And I would suggest to any therapist, whatever you offer, take that leap. Mm-hmm. And don't be afraid to sort of like offer and and have those conversations with the staff there. What is it that would help? What is it that, it could be staff wellbeing days. It could be, within your business. You don't have to have a diagnosis to want to sort of like be part of a wellbeing day for an organisation.
Yeah.
And it's just, like I say, it's don't stand in your own way. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've done it. I am the world's worst for standing in my own way and being a shrinking violet and I can't do that. I can't do that. But seriously, give it a try.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Why not you?
Yes, exactly.
Why somebody else? There's plenty of space for us all. And, I for me, I'm very humbled by what I get to do. And, I try not to let ego and pride and everything get in the way.
Yeah.
I do let fear get in the way at times. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. You know, I'm sort of, oh gosh, you know, why me?
Yeah.
Oh, there's other therapists that are equally as good as me, if not better. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm nobody special, but I'm glad I tried.
And
And
I think that's a really good point. And I suppose the point is you have tried, and if it's not you, then who? Because if everybody, I did the last episode is about this as well, about how therapists can be so. Usually, you find yourself on this journey thinking, "How the heck am I here? I don't know. I never signed up for this." And as I
exactly.
mentioned yesterday, it's not the most best paying job, so it's certainly not for the cash. But
No.
here we are, serving, healing, and doing our best. But with that comes usually and like 90% of cases, a lot of self-deprecation, low self-esteem, and the fact that you've just said that there, I hope it's really inspired whoever you are listening, and you think exactly what Annie's just said, like why me? Well, why not you? Because we've got somebody here that has a, as you say, life-limiting diagnosis. You've been in the system. You've also multi-modality training in the holistic field, and who better actually?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been quite fortunate in some respects in that I've had my foot in both camps.
Yes.
I have worked for the NHS and I am a patient of the NHS. And, you know, they do an incredible job under challenging circumstances. And it is challenging. So I guess, you know, I've seen both sides of it. Would I want to go back? No, I wouldn't. And I take my hats off to all the guys and girls that work for the NHS.
Yeah.
I really do. They do an incredible job. But I am fortunate that I guess having the rug pulled from under my feet made me make a choice.
Yeah.
And whilst I wobbled, like one of those little wee bally things that bob around. I did wobble, big style, and you know, everything I'd known for the last 34 years was taken from under my feet, if you like. But I knew that I had to be shaken up in a big way in order to get me to move.
Yeah.
And you know, it's the last nearly 4 years have been an incredible journey for me. You know, I've had to do a lot more healing on myself, and you know, as I said to you when we had a conversation a few weeks ago, you know, I've got master's certificates in quite a few healing modalities, and I'm 2/3 of the way through my priestess training. I can hold those certificates as a master, but I'm still trying to master myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm still on a healing journey, and you know, the people that I get to work with and who present to me, I go on a journey with them, but you know, they help heal me as much as I sort of give them my wisdom that I've learned over the years. So, you know, I'm work in progress, and I think if we can keep that in mind, that we all are work in progress, then you know.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
It'd be a magical place to be at the end.
Absolutely, and I think one thing you've sort of said there as well. You know, these when you're in the people that present to you, when resonance happens or synchronicities or whatever.
Absolutely.
Sometimes if you're in a volunteer, because I know a lot of therapists will say to me, the therapists that I'm training will be like, well, why would I volunteer? That's not going to put food on the table. I still need to eat. And that's absolutely fine. And the way that I always recommend, which is obviously what you've been doing, is when you're volunteering, especially with the hospices, they're always desperate for people. And I know that there's an exchange, a sort of reciprocity thing where they will say, right, well, if you come and support us, we've got quite extensive training programs that you can go through, or I was on a training course the other day, and it was somebody from down your way actually had come up to Yeovil, and they have this little business together, herself and her friend, and they go into the hospitals and they put on days for the staff, and they do it for free. It's all for free, but what they get out of that is more business from the families. So
absolutely,
I suppose what you're saying is people will present to you. You don't always have to do things for money, but it will come to you in a different way, or you know.
Absolutely. And you know, that's a very good point, actually, Sam, because, you know, I think it's like the law of attraction. You know, what you're giving out, you're going to get back. It may not be, you know, like you said, people say, why would I want to volunteer when, you know, I'm not going to get paid for it and I need to pay my bills and put food on the table. 100%. I hear you.
Yeah,
I
of course.
absolutely hear you. But what comes back in a different way is, you know, it is immeasurable.
Also experience.
You're giving out something, but the universe will provide.
Yes.
You know, and you know, again, you know, it's about having gratitude and manifesting this life that you want. And the universe will, you know, if we show that we're serious, the universe will step up and meet us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, you know, it can be, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and fanfares. You know,
No.
Being on a holistic journey it can be a tough path to walk, you know, because, you know, we have to ascend as well. We have to go up a level. And we will hit the voids, we will hit the roadblocks and stand in our own way and doubt and everything else. But once we start to shift out of that and be more in alignment with our soul purpose, if you like, then, you know, the universe will start to provide.
And it does every time. Absolutely every time. I am speaking to someone I think you've probably got it down your way as well, at St Margaret's Hospice, and they employ some CAMHS people, some complementary therapists, but they also look for volunteers. And they'd said to me that they do have an extensive training programme. And that also the training program is the payoff, I suppose, is that you're working alongside the doctors and the nurses, and the what you're gaining from each case is immeasurable. Which, to be fair, you're not going to get that training as a CAMHS therapist anywhere. You would have to go into the hospitals to get that level of training.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'm fortunate enough, you know, like I say, I can access the training because I volunteer myself.
Yeah.
And that is immeasurable. I learn stuff which in turn benefits me from a holistic therapist point of view as well.
Yes.
You know, and yeah, it's not all about the monetary gain, if you like, the materialism. It's about how you're broadening your skills, how you're broadening your knowledge and being a better therapist. And, you know, that will speak volumes.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I've got a friend who has just trained in soul midwifery, so that she's in Ireland, and, you know, she's hoping to go into the hospices over there and be a soul midwife for people transitioning.
I love that.
So, you know, there are so many aspects to it all that you can bolt on to, and you know, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
So, you know, if anybody is thinking of, do it, please.
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, to, you know, and if you get a knockback, don't let it, you know, knock you off, knock your confidence, you know, because it may be that area isn't where you would excel.
That's so true.
Just try another avenue, and you know, and try as many avenues as you can.
And I think that leads me to my next. I just wrote that down there when you were speaking, that Annie and I are obviously talking pretty much sort of palliative, sometimes end of life. We're talking about soul midwifery, but that not necessarily where, if that is just, some people just, that's just not their thing. There could be neonatal, there's neurodivergent, if you're dealing with, you know, kids on the spectrum. There's so many things you can do with this. It doesn't necessarily have to be, because I think CAMHS, particularly with the NHS, it seems to be the hospices and the cancer wards that will have therapists, but they don't have time, and maybe in respiratory or you know, the other wards, if you like. But that doesn't mean you can't try.
Exactly. You know, there's. I worked in mental health for many years, and you know, as part of the NHS, mental health is the poor relation.
Yeah.
Always has been, always will be, in my humble opinion. But, you know, offer your services to go into, you know, wards on a mental health unit, and, you know, see, that's another aspect again, you know, because it can be so empowering to the recipient.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
and it really does. It really does make a difference.
I think what must be interesting when you're in that sort of setting, if you like, if you're actually on the ward, and it's bringing it back to what you said about the support act. If you're going into that environment, you must be seeing the whole shooting match, if you like. You must be seeing the kids, the number one support person, the families, the extended families, and if you can make a difference to the patient, that's just going to ripple out, and you're seeing all these people
Absolutely.
where your work's
And
going.
the thing is about, if we look at it from a healing perspective, you know, we can all get sort of locked into that healing is a hands-on modality. Let's not forget how healing our voice is.
That's so true.
Just to listen to someone, to share a conversation, you know, that is healing in itself.
Yep.
And, you know, because people can sit here and listen to us talk now today and go, well, I'm not a healer. You know, I do this, I do that. But your words are healing. You know, let's, like I say, the voice can be a very powerful healer.
So true. So true.
So don't ever dismiss, you know, that you're not a healer. Please don't ever dismiss that you're not a healer, because, you know, just because you're not trained in a healing modality does not mean the power of your voice hasn't got the potential to heal.
And I know a lot of these wards, they're sometimes just look for companions for people as well, and that is another, you know, as Annie's saying, there's lots of ways you can do this. And I read a thing this morning that was saying at present, so this is December 2025, whenever you're listening, but there's 7.8 million people on waiting lists at the moment. That's a lot of people. And when I did my degree, I had to do it on mental health, anxiety, all about the guidelines. The real pandemic is people on the waiting list because we've not got enough. It takes so long to train as a psychiatrist, psychologist, CBT therapist. They don't have enough people. So all these people, we have this guideline called the NICE guidelines. And they're supposed to be seen within a certain amount of time, and the doctors are supposed to follow all this, but they can't. So people are just getting prescriptions off the bat that don't necessarily want to be in it, that are maybe just carrying, as Annie has said, you know, trauma from past lives, this life, parental, whatever it is. And that this is where we come in. We can really support with that kind of with this waiting list issue as well.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be palliative care.
Down here, I think our ADHD wait list is up to 7 years at the moment.
Oh my goodness.
And, you know, it's a long time for, you know, people to wait, if you like, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, so true.
You know, I mean, when I worked in the criminal justice system, you know, I worked with men suffering with depression, anxiety, PTSD, the primary mental health conditions, if you like, and we, you know, we used a lot of mindfulness within that setting, and you know, so like I say, the power of speech and the power of using our voice, it can help so many. It really can, and you know, we can all make a difference.
Absolutely. And I think the last episode we were talking about critical mass and how, you know, if enough therapists have that perspective and live what you're saying, despite their own adversities, which you clearly have done and are doing, without putting pressure on themselves, looking after themselves, which you're also doing, if that all happens, that critical mass will make a difference to the remainder of humanity, and that you know, across the planet actually. And it's an exciting time to be a therapist.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you say, it's like dropping a pebble in a pond.
Yes.
And those ripples just ripple out and out and out and out, and you know, when someone has had let's say, a primary mental health concern, you know, like the depression and anxiety, when someone actually becomes well, you know, that we could potentially have inspired them to go on their own journey and reach out and help others. And so the domino effect is just, it can be incredible.
Yes, I agree. I was just going to ask, just before we go, if anybody's listening that is perhaps massage trained, reflexology, you know, just they've only got maybe one or two modalities. If they quite fancy sort of taking the next step and just going, okay, I'm going to dip my toe in the voluntary sector and see if I can get in, what therapy do you think out of all of them would be quite sensible to, and pretty inexpensive, because obviously think of that, but what therapy would you recommend is the NHS would actually listen to?
From my experience at the moment in what I'm doing, massage seems to be a really, it's up there. I would say it's probably near the top, because a lot of people after they've had surgery have got restrictive movements or a lot of pain, so they want that. But again, look at stuff like breath work, look at mindfulness, even the healing modalities. Even now, you know, when I do my massage for them, I will blend in a little bit of Reiki at the end. And just to bring that mind body back into alignment a bit more.
Yeah.
You know, because the thing is, people can come into a room and say, you know, I've got this ache, I've got this pain because of.
Yeah.
But there's always that element that isn't being spoken.
Exactly.
And quite often, and that's listening to your gut and trusting your intuition, and going, yeah, okay, they're saying they've got this ache and pain, but I can see that there's an emotion going on.
Yeah.
And let's try and just bring them both into a bit better equilibrium.
Yeah. Into more alignment, and I think that's really
So
thank you.
know, I mean, we where I am, we offer massage, aromatherapy, reflexology, and Reiki. That's what we offer.
Yeah.
And there are people who have, you know, dealt with the physical and just want to now start on the, you know, the mental side of stuff. And, you know, so Reiki will come in. But I think you've done I think it was your first podcast where you're saying, you know, we have to be multi-skilled now. We can't just be a one-trick pony.
No.
You know, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, because, you know, we all have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know, I am a massage therapist, I'm a reflexologist, and like I say, my passion is healing, and I'm trained in various modalities. But it's about blending them sometimes, and don't be afraid to blend them. And I know I'll be shot down by certain areas. You know,
not on this podcast, you won't.
Says who? Says who?
Yeah.
Give it a try, and don't be afraid to sort of, you know, go with your gut, and, you know.
I love that.
But
and
yeah,
I think
get as many tools in your toolbox as you can.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily need to be super expensive.
No.
I think there's lots of ways you can do sort of one-day courses, and as long as you've got your main thing. And one thing you've said there, and I think it's quite good to just reflect that back. And that is that the NHS is what we would call a reductionist system. If you go in and you've got a sore kidney, I'm only going to go to the kidney department and they're going to look at the kidney. They don't care if that is systemic or if it's happened elsewhere in the body, perhaps your foot, I don't know. Whereas we can, as Annie's just said, we can treat holistically, and whole as in proper holistic therapies, holistic medicine, where we have the ability, we are allowed to look at the whole system. they don't, because there's so much to it. Your kidney is, you live and die not knowing everything about the kidneys, and then you've got the lung guys, and then you've got the heart guys, whereas we're doing a different thing, and that is almost our unique selling point, if you like. Don't try and emulate what they're doing. Doing just massage is reductionist, but doing the whole thing, which is what Annie's saying, is an integrative approach, and that's what sets us apart, because that's what they can't do. So why would we not do what they can't do, which then supports them?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, don't be afraid to blend your modalities, whatever like I say, there's a wealth of knowledge out there.
Yeah.
With therapists, there is. And, I know we get trained in a certain way, like you were saying about with SPA, you have to do like 90 movements or whatever it is for massage, and it's a sequence, and, this is how you've been trained to do it, and this is how you've got to do it, because it's almost like prescriptive in some respects. But don't be afraid to go, do you know what? My gut is telling me I should be doing this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's a very short tail end to a session, don't be afraid to put it in there if you think and in your heart and your gut, and in you're doing it with the utmost integrity and for the highest good of that person in front of you. Do not be afraid to try.
Yeah, I love that. Wise words, and it's super inspiring. Annie, thank you. That's been incredible. I don't know where the 51 minutes has gone, but this is what happens in the fifth dimension. There you go. So, have you got anything else you'd like to share? Obviously, you've shared so much with us, and I'm super grateful. And it's a very, very inspiring story.
All I can say is, I can't say it enough, actually, Sam, is, don't be afraid to try. Yes, and I'm saying this including myself, yes, we can all fail, but we can also all fly.
Wow, I love that.
So never, ever, ever be afraid to try.
Thank you.
And if you're doing it with the utmost integrity and for the highest good of the person in front of you, then nobody can ask any more of you.
Exactly. Absolutely love that. And that's wise words. And I got goosebumps. That felt very channeled. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I would just like to, if anybody fancies, following Annie, she's got a Facebook page, which is Annie, and it's OZTAS, Holistic Healing and Therapies and Intuitive. She's down in Devon. Give her a follow. I'm sure, Annie, you won't mind if people maybe reach out to you if they want to run a few things by you.
My messenger is always open. You don't have to know me. And if I can help anybody in any way, no question is stupid if you don't know the answer.
So true.
And for me, it's about helping each other. I'm not in competition with anybody other than myself.
Yeah.
That's the only person I'm in competition with. And I'm always happy to answer a question. I may not have the answer, but I have quite a few contacts that I could probably get you the answer.
Amazing. That's invaluable.
And, I can't, my door, my inbox is open.
Yeah. And where do you do treatments in your home, or have you got somewhere I know you're at the hospice, but for your own private practice?
Yeah, I've got my own room here at home.
Yeah.
And I have been known in the past to even run workshops from my extension.
Oh, amazing.
I'm here.
Great.
And I'd love to hear from people. And I would love to learn from you guys as well.
Yeah, and this is the thing, isn't it? Everybody learns from each other. And if anybody's down Devon way and it's Exeter you're in, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
Then if I'm down there, I'm going for a treatment. So if anyone else, any therapists want looked after, Annie sounds like your guy. Annie, thank you so much. And it's been absolutely incredible and very, very insightful. And I'm sure you've got everybody on the edge of their seats listening to this. So thank you and best of luck with everything.
Thank you for having me here. And, you know, I look forward to learning from everybody else as well, because, you know, I'm not an island. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, I'm always willing to learn from other people. And it's been a pleasure to be here. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you. Just a quick one before we go. If you have enjoyed this podcast, you'd like to connect with Erica and myself and be part of our community, Life Heal. We're on Instagram and on Facebook as the Life Heal Journey. We've also got a website where you can find lots of free resources, blog posts and things like that. You're more than welcome to look us up. It's www.lifehealjourney.com. We have a Facebook group with over 1,000 people in it and beautiful souls, and you're welcome to come in and have a look around and chat to people. That is Life Heal Lifestyle. And then finally, if you want to deep dive a bit more thoroughly, then we have lifehealuniversity.com, and that is our online platform, and it's a subscription platform. It's £27 a month, and you get lots of different courses, meditations, there's a book club, and it's just a little bit more serious than the Facebook group. So you're welcome to reach out to us in any way you like. There is a contact section on our website, so if you've got any questions, we love to connect with people. So feel free to message us, give us a shout with your story, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.